Hey guys, welcome to Marketing Cheat Guides. Today I have on the show somebody who is niched down in the cleaning business. His company's name is growmycleaningcompany.com. It is Mike Campion. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show and sharing some of your wisdom that you've kind of gleaned along your journey. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this business?
Well, first of all, very glad to be here. I was told there would be a free sandwich, which I've not received. So as long as that's still in play, I will give all the good stuff. But until I have some sort of assurance that's happening, I don't know that I'm willing to give you any information at this point.
Amazon's got me covered. I probably could get it to you during the show.
Perfect. And that would be awesome, by the way, if we could show me on video eating the sandwich from Amazon by the time. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be glorious. All right. I am so glad to be here. Thanks for having me. You asked a very good question. I said something ridiculous and have now forgotten your question. But if you repeat, I promise I will give you a non-ridiculous answer.
How did you get into the business? Tell us a little bit about your back journey so people get a flavor for where you've come from, what you've kind of done, and how you've ended, where you are today in terms of running the company you're running.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm probably doing the opposite of what a lot of the listeners are doing. Like a knucklehead, I started out in brick and mortar business with lots of employees and lots of overhead and lots of risk and quite for just pain in the butt reality. And when I sold my last business, it was a car dealership. So lots of moving parts and employees and just inventory and just a lot of, frankly, work. And I told my wife, we're done with that. Like I committed, I'd have one employee, no more. And I haven't hired him or her yet. I work with all vendors. Anyway, all that to say, I really went from a lot of, again, cash requirements, headache requirements, employee requirements, moving parts requirements, inventory requirements. And it's funny, when I had my car dealership, we'd buy a car for $15,000, maybe we put $2,000 into it. I have to put all that money at risk. It's sitting in my lot, breaking every moment, losing value every moment. And hopefully I sell this thing I'm into for $17,500 for $19,000. God forbid I make $1,500 in profit. And then I got to pay employees and, for the building and all this sort of nonsense to eke out a living. Now I do coaching. I have no inventory, right? My clients come to me or they don't, but I have nothing that my value goes up every month because I'm able to raise prices pretty consistently. And if I take a month off or I have no employee issues, so I really kind of went from the brick and mortar place, which you can certainly make money at, but good Lord, is it a lot of work to, I guess you'd call me digital marketing coaching, whatever you want to do, where I'm my own inventory and the pay and the risk is lower, the pay is higher. Hopefully that's a good summary.
That's awesome. So what made you pick this niche? Did you end up in the cleaning business at some point along your journey that made you pick it, or did you just identify this niche? What made you pick cleaning?
Lack of common sense for about 2 seconds is what made me pick it. I didn't know. I actually started the cleaning business. I was 22 years old. I saved everything I had and I saved up $10,000 to put down on a ServiceMaster commercial cleaning franchise. Bought it, tripled it in about 3 years. Not even 3 years, and sold it, and it kind of took that was my first real money I ever had to buy my other businesses. And looking back on all the businesses the car dealership, and construction, manufacturing, I identified with the owners of cleaning companies best. And it's a huge pain in the neck because they're all broke. I love you people if you're listening, but you're broke, and it makes me crazy. But they are by far the people I want to work with. Like car dealers have money, construction people have money, but picking the niche is a combination of they've got tremendous pain. Like we actually can help people change people's lives, right? Most car dealers are doing pretty well. It's one thing to go, hey, I can help you from working 100 hours a week making $250,000 a year to getting down to 30 hours a week making $500,000 a year, versus I can help you go from not being able to pay rent or feed your family to being comfortable and having something that you can give to your kids. So that's how I picked it. I did own a franchise. I was the owner of a cleaning company, and my heart is for those people who are just the nicest human beings ever.
So when you started this about 3 years ago, how did you go about finding clients or building a name in this brand? I mean, right now you're pretty well established, but kind of looking back, how did you start when you figured out your niche and you decided you want to go out and attract people to you?
I started a podcast, just like this one, and it was awesome. It took maybe 6-7 months to get from zero to where it's at now, and it's kind of just stayed. Oh man, my hand is huge in that camera. It's frightening. I'll do it back here, less intimidating. So it took me about less than a year to go from zero to kind of where I'm at now, and I would say 90% of my business has come from the podcast, which I also turn into a video and a blog, but it's really just there are 2 podcasts a week that I kind of repurpose for other stuff, and that has been my entire marketing client attraction strategy. Lately, I've started to do paid traffic, which at first I didn't like because it's right in the name. It's paid, for crying out loud. The podcast is free, but it's more scalable, right? With a podcast, there's only so many people. I can't go like choke people. Go listen to my podcast. They got to kind of just show up. Whereas the paid people, I can't go, hey, here's my ad. Pay attention. Look at me. So to answer your question, I started with just the podcast, which has been fantastic, but it was hard to scale. Lately, I've been doing paid traffic, which is much easier to scale, but obviously more expensive.
Okay, cool. So you said you were putting out a podcast a week or 2 podcasts a week during that period of time?
I started with 3 because for anyone considering a podcast, for the first 2 months, iTunes gives you this new and noteworthy potential, which is really just free sites in the world, and we're going to put you on the front page in the first 2 months. So I started with 3 because I want to have as much exposure and opportunity on that as possible. Once that was over and I got lazy, I went to 2. I probably did 3 for like 2 years. It was a long time in, but I started with 3 and now I do 2.
Awesome. Cool. So you put it out there, and that was your initial transition. Were you helping them with digital marketing? Did you have that vision right away, or was it coaching? What was the initial product that you were trying to bring people in to help them?
Because I'm ever so lazy, and we sold our last company for a decent amount of money, so it's not like, if I don't get clients, I'm broke. It was more, what am I getting? I'm 43. I'm going to like golf all day. I started with just absolutely high dollar, 5 figures or more to work with me. That was it. And that got frustrating because the clients I had were awesome because they had the money, they were motivated, they're just fantastic human beings. But I get 93 people out of 94 going, I don't have that kind of money. You out of your mind? And then I felt kind of guilty just going, well, best of luck to you, but I'm not helping you. So then I kind of added cheaper products, 70% out of guilt, 30% out of, hey, I'm turning 92% of my market away. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So to answer your question, I started with just high dollar consulting and then moved down to kind of group coaching. And now I offer a kind of just content that's really inexpensive. And we've got stuff for everybody. My entry-level product's $47 a month. And I always tell people, I can afford that. You shouldn't be in business. Go back and get a job, save up a couple $100 and come back.
Sure, absolutely. So when you were just starting out, obviously you were starting out from a position that, is envious for a lot of people. Obviously, I had a similar story selling a business, and then, coming to Marketing Cheat Guides and starting it was a lot less stress for sure. What were some of the challenges in terms of growing your business at the beginning? Obviously, money wasn't one of them, which we'll knock off the list. But what were some of the challenges in terms of scaling up the business?
I'd rather just talk about all the genius moves I made, not the dumb moves I made. But I guess I am getting paid a sandwich, so I have to answer as you asked.
Yeah.
So the first year, I just spun my wheels because I didn't have a niche. My niche was I want 6-figure companies that want to go to 7-figure companies. That's like saying my niche is men under 700 pounds. Like, that's not a niche. It's a massive amount of human beings that don't congregate, right? There's not really a place. Stuart and I had talked off air. We've been in something called EO, which is an entrepreneurs organization. Other than that, which is a great organization, I don't really know where they congregate, where people that are 6 figures all congregate where I could market or communicate with. So I struggled. And then so really the biggest struggle I had was not picking a niche or thinking I had a niche, and I didn't really have a niche. And it really kind of got traction because for me to be famous or important or known in the people that have 6-figure businesses world, even just in the United States, would take millions of dollars and years, or just a smarter guy than me. And I had none of those things. I wanted to get done quicker. So to be famous in my little niche, which is owners of cleaning companies, took me like 6 months. And had I started with paid traffic, I'd probably get done quicker. So the biggest mistake I made was thinking I had a niche, not niching, trying to be a little fish in a big pond as opposed to a big fish in a little pond.
Awesome. So now that you've kind of come along this journey, you've been there for 3 years, how do you find your clients now? Is it still the podcast? And now that you're entering into paid ads, are those the primary 2 ways that people are finding you? Or I know you said you translate into video and probably blog as well. Are you getting some organic traffic now that you're known in that niche?
Yeah, paid traffic just started not even 6 months ago. So if we just take that, and it's been less than 20% of my total clients, probably less than 5%. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I just started it, so I don't want to put myself out as the expert because I'm not. But I built my entire this business, just on the podcast. And again, yes, I repurposed that podcast into a blog and a video, but I didn't do a video. I just hit record and kind of what we're doing.
Sure. So
the podcast was really it. And I didn't break down where do they come from, the video piece of the podcast or the blog piece of the podcast. I just considered that the podcast because it was all one unit of work, and 100% of my business up until 6 months ago came organically.
Awesome. So looking back now, 3 pieces of advice you would give a younger version of yourself if you were starting out in this again. What would be 3 things that you would want to have known 3 years ago when you just started on this journey?
Oh, that's such a good question. The best thing, man, if I could answer this and then play this for me 3 years ago, that would be fantastic. If you can figure that out, let me know. You can keep your sandwich. Just tell me how to do that. First of all, we kind of covered it. It's nothing new. I would have niched much sooner. And literally, I could have thrown a dart and picked any niche, and it would have been better than no niche. So a lot of the people I coach get uptight. Well, I don't know about my niche. Is this a good niche? Is that a good niche? And they'll spend 6 months picking a niche. I'm like, pick one. A crappy niche is better than no niche. Or, and the entire time they're quote-unquote picking their niche, they continue to just take customers from everywhere, and it makes it harder and harder because then when they do pick a niche, they've got all these other people, and they're like, well, do I just fire them? Or do I? It's an odd deal. So first and foremost, I would have said pick a niche, any niche. First and foremost, and if I ask myself, okay, but if I do want to pick a niche, what would you go? I say pain and money. So if they have no money, doesn't matter how much pain they have, and if they have no pain, they won't give you any money. So if they have pain and money in size, right? If you say it can't be someone that's like there's 9 of them, that they better have a lot of money. So that'd be the first thing, pick a niche. Second thing is I'd probably go pay traffic quicker, just so I could scale. That was really the big thing. Lack of scalability for the organic worked out great. I have as many customers as I want, but that's that. And then I probably would have started offering lower dollar offerings quicker instead of just saying, hey, if you don't have the money, I'm not going to help you. I probably would have listened to my market and said, hey, this isn't what I want to do, but these people need help, and that's why I'm here. It's not fair. I shouldn't say it's not fair, but it's not effective to just do it on my way or the highway. Wasn't ideal.
Perfect. So you've created the system now for people in the cleaning business. I watched your webinar, and it seems like you've put out a lot of good content in terms of taking practical business knowledge and bringing it down to the niche. Is that really what your podcast would be about? Or are you bringing people onto the podcast and interviewing them? What kind of content are you creating on the podcast for your audience?
Yeah, it's just like I interview owners of cleaning companies, and it's kind of like a talk show or call-in, radio show. What do you need? And they get to ask pretty much whatever they want, as long as it's something specific enough I can answer in the 20 minutes we got. And I help them. That's it. I literally just live coach one person, one owner of a cleaning company per podcast. And some of the guys or gals are just starting or haven't even started. Some of the guys are doing 50, 60 million a year, and everybody in between. So it's a ton of fun because every day is just, and it's cool because it helps me keep in touch with, I'm always telling my people, you got to know your people, you got to know their pain. And like, how do I do that? For me, I'm like, why cheat? I talk to them. I mean, obviously I do the coaching and stuff, but it's really nice. I don't have to worry about what are my people into. Everyone's like, send a survey, do this. Here's all these tips and tricks. I talk to 2 of them every week and go, what do you want to talk about? So it's kind of cool because obviously I know that I'm hitting pain that they have because they tell me what their pain is, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. So do you follow anybody in terms of learning marketing? Obviously you have a background in building businesses, selling businesses, and that obviously gives you quite a bit of experience to draw on. But in terms of creating the systems that you've created, is there anybody that you follow or that you recommend looking at in terms of books or training that people may benefit from?
Yeah, I'll answer it twice because I kind of have 2 different categories. The first is a brick and mortar offline business, which I don't know how much of that background helped me with what I'm doing now, which is all online. I don't ever meet any of my customers. I don't have an office. No brick and mortar products. So offline, am a big fan of the old standby is good to great. There's a ton of them. I'm a big fan of the 4-Hour Work Week, which is kind of a link between brick and mortar and online. There's one more big one that I'm a huge Anthony Robbins fan, which isn't really business. It's more just about how to be who you are. Awaken a Giant Within was probably the first book that really woke me up and went, oh my gosh, the whole new universe. So not specific to digital marketing. That's probably the universe I play in. And then on the digital marketing stuff, it's the usual suspects. I'm a big Frank Kern fan. That dude, the way he does stuff just makes me smile. Russell Brunson, I've spent some time with him. I've had him on one of my podcasts. He's a good guy. Who else? There's like probably 3. I hate saying that because there's you read everybody, and I hate to just be like, oh, these are the 2 or 3 guys, and then someone will email me, hey, why didn't you call me? So there's a ton more, but those are probably the who I'm into right now at the very least.
So now that you've got your business to where it's at, how do you divide your time? What is you mentioned the 4-hour week. So what does a week look like for you now, and how do those buckets break down?
Man, these are such good questions. I should be writing these down. I'm going to steal them and ask my people that. I'll email you a PDF of my calendar. That's not true. I won't. So I kind of I do what I coach my folks to do, which is in, out, and on. So in the business is where I give myself permission to do, for me that would be a coaching call. Like I have to actually provide the service. This would probably be in the business, right? You and I are chatting. Hopefully, I'm giving some value to people, but I have to be here. This isn't. It's kind of leverageable because we'll send out to your audience and they'll immediately fall in love with me, obviously, even when I'm not working. So this could be in or on, but I probably count it in. I try to spend under 30% of my time on in the business. On the business would be creating systems, which when I had my company was a lot of actual systems for my employees to run. Here's our accounting system. Here's our client track marketing system. The nice thing I have, and this is one of my favorite things about digital marketing, is when I had my car dealership, it was like, good Lord, if I could get 10, 15% of my time to client attraction, that would be huge, right? There were so many moving parts, but I got to hire this guy and fire this guy. We need to write a job description over here. Accounting, if you ever want to start a car dealership, good Lord, it's the worst. And regulatory stuff. So there's just so many moving parts. And it's like, oh, yeah, by the way, you got to get customers to show up and give you money. Total afterthought. With what I do now, I can spend half of my time on client attraction and creating an amazing client experience, which is so much fun. So I try to do 30% in the business, 30% on the business would be creating a system and add something that's going to generate revenue forever without me ever having to do anything again. And I work really hard at spending 30% out, where I play basketball every Wednesday and Friday with a bunch of guys that I like. I work out in the mornings. I do a lot of things that have nothing. I drive my kid to tutor time, which he loves because he's little and adorable. So that's about how I break it up. A third in, a third on, a third out, even during work days. Like we'll go to, I do some of my podcast from my cabin, so we make sure there's plenty of time to not work in there. Awesome. Which I didn't do at the beginning, by the way. When I first started my company, there was no out. It was all in. Everyone's like, you got to be balanced. You got to be that. Balance is for once you built what you wanted. So just to be clear to everybody out there that's having money struggles, like, hey, I just didn't sell a business for 7 figures, you jerk. At that point in my life, I was very unbalanced, and it was a lot of work for not a lot of years, like 2 or 3 years, right? You do it for a decade, that'll burn you out. But for 2 or 3 years, if you work 60, 70 hours a week, as long as your family's on board with it, for me, that's what it took to really build something the first time. So just what I'm doing now and what I would coach younger me to do before would be different things.
Okay, interesting. So now that you've built that brick and mortar business and you've had that success, and now it seems like you've created a situation of balance, which maybe the auto dealership didn't allow for. Do you view this as something that you'll continue to do, or are you again building up to an exit? And are you like the serial entrepreneur who likes to go to other businesses? I know for myself, this is my 4th or 5th business. It just seems like I keep transitioning every couple of years because I like it. Curious, what about yourself? Are you viewing this as a long-term thing now?
Total long-term. First of all, just full disclosure, I absolutely was working 20 hours a week at my car dealership. But I had it for 2 or 3 years before, just over 3 years before I sold it. The first 2 years, I was working my tail off. But then I got to the point where it was 15 hours a week. When I sold the business before that, my first 7-figure deal, I was working, get at 9:30, leave at 2:30, Monday through Friday. That's it. So again, the unbalance works both ways, right? There's a lot of work where we work, focus, do that for 2 or 3 years, and then it wasn't that way. So the brick and mortar for me, at least, wasn't just always working. It was work for a couple of years and then relax indefinitely. And I sold the car dealership because I hated it. It was a huge pain in the neck. Way too many rules and regulations, and it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. So I have been a serial entrepreneur, always thinking the next thing would be the best thing. And the next thing was always better for me, right? I moved from one to another, and it always got better. This is the first thing where I freaking love it. I'm sure there's downsides. I don't want to be like this guy, and I'm not selling you anything, so you don't have to be like, this is the perfect business, buy my product. I have nothing. Most of you guys don't own cleaning companies, so I have nothing to sell you. Yep. So coming from a guy selling nothing, I love it. I do speaking. I've got the podcast. I've written a book. I get to help people. There's no overhead. As of today, I have 0 plans of exiting. As long as I'm young, enough people to keep so you guys throw me off the internet.
Awesome. So 2 more questions. First one is, did I not ask you something that I should have asked you that maybe you could share with our audience? Any kind of insight or tailoring parts, I guess, or leaving kind of wisdom that you want to give to people that are earlier in the journey? A lot of people are younger on that journey in terms of wanting to get to where you're at. You seem self-actualized. You seem you have a business that makes you happy, makes you money. So anything you want to share on that topic?
Yeah, let me think on that I should have this ready. dang it, you should have hired a better guest. Good with all this stuff.
You're just waiting for the sandwich. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Again, maybe if I had a sandwich, I'd think a little better. I'm just saying, Stuart. I kind of alluded. I thought I made myself clear earlier, but you weren't picking up what I was laying down. There is a lot of If I was going to start a new business, I was actually just talking with a friend who wanted to go to business. I've kind of been clarifying over the last 20 years what I would consider a good business or a bad business. So whatever business you're looking into, first and foremost, margin. Like I said, the car dealership, I had to spend $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 to make $1,500. That's terrible margins. So that's part of the reason I love the cleaning business is big fat margins, right? You can charge double what it costs you. The business that I'm in, or I'm assuming we are in, is this audience. The margins are like 97%, right? It costs me nothing to create content and help people. So big fat margins I love. Second would be recurring revenue. With a car dealership, I had that same, I don't know what it was, 50, 60 grand a month that I had to pay every month. But at the beginning of the month, I had 0 deals on the book. So I had to go like scrambling, and we had to sell some crap, and hopefully we hit that 50 or 60 grand somewhere around the 20th. But if it's the 31st and we haven't hit that much in gross margin, okay, I guess we try again. I write a check and we try again next year. So, or next month. So recurring revenue is huge. If you can get big fat margins with recurring revenue, check and double check. And then finally, I like cash positive businesses. I've been in like construction business I had was cash negative. So the faster we grew, the more of a cash suck the business was. And we'd be like, at the end of the year, we'd be like, hey, my account, we made $500,000 this year. Fantastic. How come I'm broke? Well, your receivables went from $500,000 to $1 million. So cash-wise, you have nothing. But on paper, you did great. So if I was addressing a business to pick, I would go high margins first, recurring revenue second, and cash positive, i.e. I get paid before I do the service. I don't have to put a bunch of money in infrastructure and then hope to get paid later.
Awesome. So now the last question that I like to ask is, what's something you spent a couple of $100s on in let's say the last month or two that you're enjoying?
Well, we bought a cabin, which I love, but it was a little more than a couple $100. I mentioned I play basketball with a bunch of guys that are wealthy because it's like, Wednesday at noon, we're playing basketball. So obviously you got to have some sort of situation. And I found that we're playing with these janky YMCA balls that suck. So I spent 50 whole American dollars on a very nice leather indoor basketball. And I'm always the hero. Everyone's like, oh, Mike's here with this ball. And I'm like, you guys make $200,000 a year. You can buy your own ball. But they don't know that. So I am now the hero because I've got the ball. So it wasn't a couple $100. It was only $50. But it's given me much joy that I get to be the hero with the nice ball. Did I answer your question at all?
That is awesome. Right, that's exactly it. I play basketball myself on Wednesday nights, as it turns out. But not everybody is wealthy. But it's nighttime, so everyone's free.
All right. Well, when next time you're in Phoenix, Stuart, it's you and I, Wednesday or Friday. I'll introduce you to the fellows. We'll go down there. Don't worry, I've got a good ball, so everyone likes me. You'll fit right in. We'll make it happen.
Awesome.
And you will buy me a sandwich.
I will definitely buy you a sandwich. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for joining us here on the show, guys. If you're still watching this, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, we're going to continue.
Don't do it. It's a trap. Sorry.
Shh. Continue to interview entrepreneurs, share their story, and hopefully you'll be able to glean some wisdom from their experience. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below. Myself and Mike will be happy to engage with you here on the channel. Mike, thanks a lot for taking your time and sharing the experience with us.
My pleasure, brother.